All right, listen, if you find yourself nagging and complaining a lot in your marriage and you're tired of it, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 questions that you can start asking so that you can stop nagging and complaining in your relationship. That's today on RelationShots. Hey, welcome to RelationShots. If you have not already downloaded your free guide to intimacy, you'll see a link in the description area below. That'll walk you through 4 areas of intimacy in a relationship and help you come up with some ideas to get connected in greater ways in your marriage. If you need help in any area of your relationship, you'll see a lot of links below, whether it's counseling, our membership, our courses, anything that we can help you do in the relationship. We'd love to be part of your relationship journey, so check that out. All right. It's time to stop nagging and complaining in your relationship. And here's what I want to do for you. I want to give you 5 questions, 4 that you can ask yourself and 1 that you can ask your spouse, so that we can eliminate all the complaining and nagging going on in the relationship and actually enjoy the relationship a little bit. So here's question number 1 you need to ask yourself. What am I doing regularly to grow myself? Right? Here's the reality. We need to be investing regularly in our personal growth. People who are not growing personally tend to be more sensitive to and more focused on the negative stuff that's going on in their relationship. They don't have any stuff that is pouring into their life that is helping them grow. They don't have any outside input that's some kind of feedback loop to help them recognize and realize where their shortcomings are. Maybe some stuff that you need to grow in your life. But when you are doing stuff that is giving input back into your life, you soon begin to recognize that maybe you're not as great as you thought you were. I know that happens to me. So when I'm listening to podcasts, when I'm reading books, when I'm watching videos, I now have an outside source giving me feedback that I can compare myself to, and pretty quickly I recognize I'm probably not as great as I think I am. I don't know as much as I think I do, and I don't contribute as much as I think I contribute. And when that happens, guess what? It's something called humility. And when I'm humble and I have recognized I don't know everything I think I know, guess what I'm not doing as much? Focusing on the shortcomings in my marriage and being frustrated by what is going on in the marriage. So if you do not have a regular rhythm of growing yourself, I promise you what you'll do instead is you'll start looking outward, and the first place you're going to look outward is in your marriage, and you'll start looking for all the things that are not fulfilling you or not making you happy or not pleasing to you, and you'll begin to complain and nag simply because you are not growing yourself. So the first question you need to ask is, what do I regularly do to grow myself? Question number 2 you need to ask yourself, what do I do regularly that gives me life? What are the things that fill you up? Despite what the movies tell you, your spouse does not complete you. Your spouse does not always make you want to be a better man or better woman. Listen, we have things that we know that give us life, that bring us joy, that fill us up. There is nothing that is going to cause you to nag and complain more about your relationship than when you are empty. When you are emotionally, relationally, physically, spiritually, intellectually hungry, you're going to look in your marriage and go, they're just not doing the stuff that fulfills me. So you need to ask the question, what actually does fill you up? If you don't know, we've already identified the problem. You're not enjoying life. You're not enjoying things. You need to fill yourself up. For me, going to the gym is something I need to do regularly. Not because I'm some bodybuilder, clearly you can see that's not the case, but because 1, it's physical activity, which is good for my brain and my body. 2, I get a chance to listen to audiobooks or podcasts while I'm there, which I love doing. So me going to the gym is something I need to regularly do to keep myself filled up. Another place I like to go is Starbucks. I like to go work at Starbucks. I like a coffee. I like getting out of the house, putting headphones in, putting my head down, and working. Another thing I like to do is read. So if I can read in the sun, maybe in the backyard, or go someplace that I can be outside and read, those things are going to fill me up. And guess what? When I am filled up emotionally, relationally, intellectually, spiritually, guess what I'm not doing? Looking at what my wife is not providing for me. The times I am most sensitive and most focused on what my wife is not doing for me are the times I'm running around hungry in all of these areas. So you need to find time to fill yourself up. Listen, that's part of marriage. We have a relational responsibility to one another to care for each other. We also have a personal responsibility to our marriage, which says I'm bringing the best version of myself into this marriage, and I am not expecting my spouse to meet all the needs I have and to fill me up in all the areas, because if I am, then when they're not doing that, what am I going to start doing? I'm going to start nagging. I'm going to start complaining. I'm going to start pointing the finger at them when I have a responsibility to be doing stuff that actually gives me life in a relationship. A third question you need to ask yourself is, what does the thing that I'm complaining or nagging about most actually represent to me? See, I think most of the time we sit on the surface and we point at behaviors, or we point at situations, or we point at messiness, or we point at these things that are bothering us, and we nag and complain about those things, but we don't really know what those things represent to us. And if you don't know what it really represents to us, even if your spouse addresses that thing, you will find something else that also is causing problems in whatever that deeper issue that resents, right? So if you think about, let's say your spouse leaves things around and you're having to pick up after them. Okay, is that annoying? Yes. Is it too much to go out of your way to take their dishes in the sink and put them in the dishwasher when you're putting your dishes in the dishwasher? No, that's really not a big deal. But if you're getting real frustrated and nagging and complaining about it, it probably represents something deeper. And what is that? Is it a lack of respect? You just don't respect me if you're going to leave stuff in there. You just don't care that I have to do it. Or you just assume that's my job and that's disrespectful. It's not my job to pick up after you. I'm not your mother. What? It represents something deeper. Is it a lack of respect? Is it a lack of love? Same thing with maybe you love organization and neatness in the house and everything in the right place. And it's like, okay, does it look nicer when things are organized and kept up? Absolutely. But if it's really, really bothering you and you're nagging, complaining about it all the time, does it represent something more? Maybe you have a hard time relaxing if there's mess. It causes anxiety. Maybe there's something bigger. Maybe you take pride in something. You don't like people coming over and things not looking away. So now it's about your self-esteem or self-worth. There may be something deeper. And if you don't address the deeper thing, you won't figure out what it is. Same thing with like when you get frustrated and nag because your spouse is gone all day and didn't check in, or they travel and didn't let you know when they made it to the destination right away. Is it just that you think it's common courtesy and they should do that? Or when they don't check in or they don't let you know they made it there, is that a lack of love? They don't care about me. They don't realize that I'm worrying about them, that I'm fearful for stuff, and they don't care about my position, and they're not empathetic in this situation. So what is the deeper thing going on? Same thing with money fights. A lot of couples fight about money. Is it just about the money? Or does the money in the bank represent security to you because when you were a kid, you didn't have it and you were broke and you don't want that fear again? And so it's not just their spending. It's the fact that you want X amount in the bank, and when you have X amount in the bank, you now feel secure. Once you have that in the bank, you could care less what they spend. So if we just nag about the spending and we don't address what's really going on, we're going to miss it. So I think you've got to ask yourself, with the stuff I'm complaining and I'm nagging about, what do they really represent to me? And then try to share that with your spouse, because I promise you they're going to be more receptive to probably the deeper need than they are responsive to the nagging and complaining. And like I said before, if you don't address the deeper need, then even if they address what you nag and complain about, you're going to turn around and find something else to nag and complain about because it's really about that deeper need. So you got to ask yourself the question, what does this thing I'm nagging and complaining about really represent to me? A fourth question you need to ask yourself is, what is the one thing I most desire or need from my spouse? Listen, I know you got 57 things, but they're not going to give you 57 things. Maybe you only got 4 things. But what I'm telling you is the best way to work on your marriage is to pick one thing and have a discussion about it. And sit down with your spouse and let them know, well, this is the one thing that makes the most difference to me in our relationship, feeling connected, cared for, loved, safe, whatever the thing is that you need. And then watch this, brainstorm together ways that as a team you can work on how they can provide this for you and how you can communicate around it. When you nag and complain, it doesn't feel like a team. It feels like you're coming at me. But when you sit down with me and talk about here's the one thing you most desire, and then ask me, hey, let's come up with some ways. How do you think that we can set up our relationship, maybe set time aside or deal with our schedules or our energy or whatever it might be that affects it, so that we as a team can make sure that this thing is occurring in the relationship so that we feel connected in the relationship. Brainstorm together. And watch this. When your spouse starts working on and growing in this area that you say is your greatest desire or need, we need to celebrate it. We need to appreciate it, not just go, thanks, move on, here's my next thing. Because a lot of spouses feel like, golly, when I finally do the thing that they've been complaining about, all that happens now is I get the next thing on the list, and the next thing on the list, and the next thing on the list. And at some point you get hopeless and go, I'm gonna quit trying. Dude, the list never ends. They're never satisfied. So we can only work on so many things at once. When they're clearly working and growing in an area, celebrate it, appreciate it, just enjoy it before we start bringing in the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And the fifth question you need to ask now is of your spouse, not just you. You need to ask them, what is the one thing you most desire or need from me? And then together, brainstorm ways that you can make sure that this is occurring. If it's being more intentional, if it's scheduling some time around it, if it's cutting something out of the relationship. And watch this, if they're asking for something that is difficult for you to give because of some other stuff that hinders it or gets in the way, then you have that discussion. Hey, it would be a lot easier for me to provide this for you if you could take this off my plate, or if you could help me in this area, right? It'd be a lot easier for me to give you some quality time at the end of the night if you helped with the kids' bath and bedtime routines, or if you were able to do this, so when I got home I didn't have to take time to do it, now I've got more energy and time to spend with you. So I think when you understand what your spouse wants, if there's some legitimate things they can do that would give you a greater ability to do what they need, you talk about those things, you share about those things, and you try to meet those things. If you ask yourself these first four and your spouse number 5, I promise you, you can create a relationship with a lot less nagging, complaining, and everybody's going to enjoy that one more. Now, there are always issues in relationship, right? So we do have to have the ability to bring up a complaint, to bring up an issue at times, because none of us are perfect and none of our relationships are perfect. But I also need you to focus on appreciation, admiration, good moments. All the psychologists say we need a 5-to-1 positive to negative ratio in order to receive feedback. So if you are not consistently giving positivity in the relationship, appreciating them, admiring them, thanking them, celebrating them, then when you do bring a complaint, they're probably not going to be as receptive. So make sure, we know complaints are going to come. We know issues are going to come in the relationship. We know we're going to notice negative things and want to fix them. Knowing that, we've got to be equally as intentional to do positive things that will offset when we have to bring those. So hopefully these are helpful to you. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to ask yourself these 4 questions, ask your spouse number 5, and then I want you to drop a comment and let me know what answers you came up with to these things, because I think what you come up with could be helpful to somebody else who's watching this video as well. And again, if we can be helpful in any aspect of your relationship journey, maybe it's counseling, maybe it's jumping in one of our classes, maybe it's taking a course, being a part of our membership community, we'd love to be a part of your relationship journey. So check out all the links below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.